What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 4040 Vision podcast. I'm your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Sulman Haque. On today's podcast, we will be doing a preview of the 2025 NFL season. We'll be going over the over-unders for every team and giving you some fantasy advice, including some sleepers and potential busts. We'll also be doing an AI prediction. So we use ChatGPT to predict some of the upcoming records. So we'll compare our predictions with ChatGPT's. We'll be doing something a little bit different this year. Instead of going by division like we usually do, we're going to go by category. So we have the teams separated by predicted over-unders, by Super Bowl contenders, playoff hopefuls, playoff pretenders, good, bad teams, and number one pick contenders. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the Super Bowl contender category. And there are 6 teams here, and these teams, according to some of the odds makers, have projected win totals between 10.5 and 11.5. So we'll start at the top here with your boys, the San Francisco 49ers. So they had a tough season last year, a lot of injuries, basically derailed them, got up to, I believe, 6 wins last year, which was well below their projected win total. Now they're projected to win 10.5 games. So how are you feeling about the Niners this year?
Man, honestly, I'm gonna say they're gonna be under that. They're gonna be not like that under, but I'm taking 10 wins just because a lot of changes on the defense. I mean, a lot of guys that they lost, like Javon Hargraves, those guys like depth pieces, Charvarius Ward, things like that. I think they lost a lot on defense. They have some injuries, Malik Mustafa, so. I think the defense is going to start a little bit slow, and it's going to be on the offense to carry. And then the offensive side of the ball, they're all banged up too, like outside of CMC, and Purdy and Kittle, like the main guys. But who's their wide receivers right now? Is it going to be Ricky Pearsall? Like, who else is there? Right? Like, I think Sky Moore might start in week
Juwan
one. Like,
Jennings? I don't know. Juwan
he's
Jennings?
hurt. He's holding out. He's hurt. He's got I saw a joke online that it's apparently now a grade 4 calf sprain that only cash can heal. So yeah, only cash can heal, right? So, I don't know, man. Like, it's not as funky of a vibe as it was last year, but the vibes still aren't great. And they went a very kind of cheap route of let's build through the draft, let's add Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, these kind of guys, CJ West. I think they'll be fine. They'll be a playoff team. Super Bowl contender might be a little strong. Over 10.5 wins for me feels a little strong, but they do have a very easy strength of schedule, so maybe that works in their favor.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of finishing at the bottom of your division is you end up the next season with a softer schedule, at least on paper, of course, because of the opponents. I'm going to go a little bit over. I think 11 wins. I do know. I mean, I understand everything you said about the defense, the new faces, but I think the biggest new face is that you guys got Robert Saleh back. And I think he's the type of dude that's going to motivate a young defense. He's going to get them going. You guys still have a great defensive line. Fred Warner's probably the best linebacker in the NFL. So I think you have enough blue chippers on defense. And of course, Saleh is a great defensive coordinator that I think that's enough to make up for the difference and some of the new pieces that are coming in on offense. As long as McCaffrey's healthy, I'm not really worried about the rest of the guys. I think Shanahan is enough of a running game whiz to make that happen, and then obviously everything else is going to work off that. So there's the huge caveat of the health aspect, but I think 11 wins is pretty realistic here. And ChatGPT also agrees with me. They had 11 wins for the Niners, so we'll see come next summer. So in terms of the fantasy predictions, so of course we said we would do one sleeper and one bust or anti-sleeper, whatever you want to call it. So who did you pick for your guys?
Yeah, my sleeper is Brian Robinson Jr. And partly has to do with the health of CMC, but I do think the Niners are going to try to give less to CMC, right? Given his Achilles history, given what happened to him last year, kind of take the workout load off him a little bit. And Brian Robinson is a proven starting running back, so I think it's not going to be a 50-50 split, but I think there's going to be enough work for him that he could be fantasy relevant, and he may start games where CMC misses, right? Maybe just because he's hurt or banged up. Bust Juwan Jennings, he's holding out, like you said.
Yep.
cap injuries are never good, and you're holding out, and you're missing camp. That seems like a recipe for disaster for Jawan Jennings. And if I'm him, I just come and play and like I get paid next year, right? Like I get it, nothing's guaranteed, but like holding out and taking your time away from the team, and it's just going to lead to a down year. And the team is like, "See, told you we shouldn't have paid you." That's kind of what happened with Brandon Ayuk. So
Yeah, exactly.
his it's repeating itself here with Jawan Jennings. So he's my bust.
Yeah, we talked about this leading up, and one of my fantasy superstitions, whatever you want to call it, is trying to avoid guys that held out for whatever reason. I mean, it just maybe it's anecdotal, but I just feel like over the years, whenever a guy holds out for an extended period of time, even if it's a hold in, just like bad vibes around, around the team. There's bad juju around him as a player, and they usually fall short, whether it's injury. I know you brought up Ayuk. It's not his fault, is his knee exploded when he got hit, but it just, it's just one of those things I just don't want to mess with. Um, but after I saw your list, I was like, I'm gonna try to pick different guys just so we're not, repeating the same names. So my sleeper is Ricky Pearsall. In my draft so far, I've been seeing him slip quite a bit. He's going for pretty cheap in my auction drafts as well, which is weird considering he's the only healthy receiver on the Niners right now. I think it's him and like Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, who you mentioned. So I'm like, this guy's just a volume play at this point, so you might as well snatch him up. And he did really well in preseason. I mean, I know it's just preseason, but from what I saw, he was shining, and he didn't get shot this offseason, so that's a big plus. My bust or anti sleeper, Christian McCaffrey. It's relative. I just I can't take that chance on him again. I mean, I would rather be wrong about him and he goes to someone else and has a great season versus I spend a ton of money on him or I draft him, in the first round and he ends up screwing me. So that's my pick right there.
I'm with you on that. I actually just passed on him on a draft today, so I passed on him.
See, we're on the same page.
Yep.
All right. The Detroit Lions, they were a Super Bowl contender last year, one of the best teams in the NFL. Unfortunately, their defense fell apart due to injury, and they end up losing to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders in the playoffs, so they fall short of their goal. They had some key losses, some key offensive linemen like Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, but overall, they are returning mostly the same team. Of course, they lost Ben Johnson, who's their guru offensive coordinator. But anyway, their projected over under is 10.5. So I think last year was 12.5 or something. So a little bit of a drop off. What did you have for the Lions here?
Yeah, I took him on the over. Had him at 11 wins. Like you said, right off, obviously lost some offensive linemen like Frank Ragnow, lost Ben Johnson. So, but their defense is relatively healthy compared to what it was last year. Aiden Hutchinson's looking good. These guys are looking good on the defensive side. So I think, I mean, and they drafted, some rookies like Tate Ratledge to kind of step in. He looks like he's going to be a starter on that line day one. They drafted some defensive line depth in Tylik Williams. So I think the Lions should be a very good team. They shouldn't regress much on the offensive side, even though Ben Johnson left. I think, it's just a machine that's going to keep on rolling. And if the defense is healthy, 11 wins is definitely possible. And that's kind of where I see them at, given they still have like a decently tough schedule. And, the NFC North is a bloodbath there, right? With, you got the Bears, Vikings, Packers, like all of them are good teams. So it's maybe a little bit harder path for the Lions, but definitely still in contention.
Yeah, I still see them as a juggernaut in the NFC. I think the NFC in general is not great. It's very top heavy. So I went with 13 wins for them. I think it's realistic. I think they keep on rolling. They're just a great regular season team. I mean, I think they won 14 games last year with half a defense. So if you give them a competent defensive unit with some healthy guys, I think that 13 wins is realistic. So definitely over. ChatGPT went under. They went 10 wins for them. So who are your sleeper and bust for the Lions?
Yeah, sleeper. I went Isaac Tesla. I think you and me kind of like him, but I do
Yeah,
see
he's
him.
a hot commodity, man. And they just traded Tim Patrick the other day,
Yeah,
who was, I think,
he's
the starting receiver ahead of him. So,
I think he's definitely going to get some time in like as like, when they shift St. Brown to the slot, he's going to operate out the slot. And, Jameson is a big play dude. So I do think there's some volume there for Tesla in terms of, picking up some catches. Yeah, I like him a lot as a sleeper. And, I mean, in a lot of drafts, he's just going undrafted, man. So that's some
Really?
value.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of
I'll
drafts
keep
I've
an eye
seen,
on
at
that.
least a lot of drafts that I've seen that are at least not rookie or dynasty drafts. He's going either very late round or undrafted. Like that's it. My bust, David Montgomery. I do think he's going to be used less. I think he's going to get kind of put into this goal line type situation back now where he might be stealing some touchdowns, but I don't think it's enough to keep him fantasy relevant because of the way this Lions offense works and how much more I think they're going to expand Gibbs in this offense. So unless Gibbs gets hurt, I don't think Montgomery has a big chance of putting up fantasy points,
I think he had
especially
like
where he's
12.
being drafted. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think he had 12 touchdowns last year or something crazy like that. So I don't know if that is replicable, but I just think that this defense or this offense is so good. And I think they're going to be ahead so many times that I think they're going to lean on him. I mean, I'm with you that Gibbs is going to have an expanded role because it's his second season. He's going to, get more chances, more opportunities. But I don't know about Montgomery being a bust. Sleeper, like you said, Tesla. It's not a huge secret. I don't even know if it's a sleeper anymore because everyone's talking about him. But my bust is Jameson Williams. I feel like every season he's getting in trouble for something, and I just knuckleheads, man. He's just a knucklehead, and I think we talked about that as well leading up. We're not about the knuckleheads for the draft. So, all right. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens, another team that's just a perennial Super Bowl contender, always in the mix. They fell short last year thanks to Mark Andrews. Their projected over under is 11 and a half. They made some big changes on offense. They added DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know. I guess it's a big change. And they on defense, they lost a couple key pieces like Marcus Williams and Michael Pierce, but it's the Ravens. That's just what they do. So, what did you have for the Ravens over under?
Yeah, I had him going 13 wins, Colin. I think they finish as the one seed here. I like what they're doing. They didn't lose like I wouldn't say they lost huge pieces in Marcus Williams and Michael Pierce. Just yeah, some one or two pieces here on the defense, but they added Malachi Starks in the draft. They added Mike Green. Mike Green looks like a monster. I mean his bend is insane, but character concerns he fell to the second round. I
That's
just
why. But
Yeah, character concerns, knucklehead, right? But I like what the Ravens are doing, and they're consistent. They have John Harbaugh, Lamar. I mean, they're gonna win games. They're gonna play well. I think the defense is gonna take a step up this year from versus last year. So I just think they're gonna be much better on defense, and that's gonna make life easier on them in terms of winning games. I also feel their schedule is relatively easier, maybe versus last year. And I mean I feel like the AFC as a whole also got the top of the AFC is not as strong as it used to be. So I think that's working in their favor as well.
interesting. All right. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. But I went 12 wins on the Ravens. I think over is, yeah, it's just almost not a lock, but just feels like they're the type of team. They're just a regular season juggernaut, and they still have something to prove. So even if Derrick Henry misses some time, they have some great backup running backs, Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hills. Like they'll be able to patch it along the way. The receivers are still a question. Maybe Zay Flowers takes a leap. I don't know what DeAndre Hopkins still has left in the tank. He looked okay last season in spurts, but I mean, I wouldn't count him out just yet because he's never been like super explosive anyway. So as long as he's still got those nifty feet and then incredible hands, I think he can still make a difference for this team. And Isaiah Likely is a star or a future star, which is kind of a spoiler for our next segment. But we both went over. ChatGPT went under, went 11 games, so just a half game under. Who are your fantasy picks for the Ravens here?
Yeah, my sleeper has actually Rashad Bateman. I think this might be the year where he finally lives up to his hype. Maybe. Um, I mean, he's going pretty low in fantasy drafts. Like towards the end of like
He's the
back.
forgotten guy there. I'll
He's
say
the
that.
exactly. He's forgotten, and it shows in fantasy drafts. Like he's going like $1 in auction drafts. He's going like end of rounds and snake drafts. So I think there's some value in him. Like I think he could be a wide receiver too, like in fantasy. So I I would look at him. I would look at him sleeper pick. Bust. I mean relative bust, right? Derrick Henry. I
Yeah,
don't think
relative.
I don't yeah, relative bust, right? I don't think he's gonna live up to what he did last year. There's gonna be a regression, and that regression is I mean, he's on the older side of things for a running back. You know, last year was amazing for him. Like I was shocked he put up that year. So last year what he did. So I think this year step back, less rushing yards, less touchdowns, and maybe not that RB1 that everyone thinks he is this year. And he's being drafted in the first round. So I think he's going to be he should be a guy that should be in the second or third round easily for me. Like I would, if he's
He,
third
he's
round.
just he's the type of guy that, given his history, I think he's only had one like injury plagued season that you just keep betting on him until it's no
Until the
good,
wheels fall off, right? Until
Yeah,
the wheels
until the
fall
wheels
off.
fall off, which they will at some point. But it's not like he doesn't have the CMC injury history where it's like seems like every other year something's going on. He just, again, I'll just keep betting on him until, like you said, till the wheels fall off. My sleeper, Isaiah Likely. I think he's going to take the leap this year. Andrews has been hurt this offseason. Feels like he's coming along slowly. And that's my bust is Mark Andrews. So if you're going to pick one Ravens tight end, I think I would go with Likely over Andrews. I think Likely is a more dynamic player. Not that Andrews isn't going to get his touches, but I think Likely is a little more versatile. So you can have them both on the field and make line them up all over the place. Again, I don't even know if it's much of a sleeper, but I'm just not seeing that much excitement around him, which I'm not understanding considering the big red Q that's next to Mark Andrews, all preseason. All right, next up, the Kansas City Chiefs. Their over under is 11 and a half. They of course went 15-2 last season. Can you guess what their point differential was last year? Just throw a number at me. They went 15-2.
Hmm. Like for the entire season or per game?
Yeah, just overall point differential. 100? No, it was 59. What's their point
59.
differential? The year before, where I think they won like 12 games or 11 games, their point differential was like in the 70s. So this was a team that like kind of luck boxed their way. I don't know. There's no rational explanation for the things that were happening to this team to get them to 15-2. And they could have been 16-1. They basically punted on the last game because they already had the first seed locked up. So it was just very weird team. Nothing dominant about them, but for some reason they were winning every game. They had blocked kicks, blocked extra points, all kinds of crazy shit happening. So anyway, all that to say, they look good this preseason. They've reloaded. Supposedly their offensive line is better. Supposedly their defense is going to be better. Still got Patrick Mahomes, who had probably the worst statistical season of his career last year, even though they won 15 games. Travis Kelce is getting married, so maybe this is his retirement tour. But yeah, they're over under 11 and a half. What do you got for them?
I got 11 wins. Just slightly under that over under. I know they reloaded. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about Jalen Moore as their starting. I think he's either starting left tackle or starting right tackle. That guy was a backup swing tackle that they paid a bunch of money to. Like I saw that guy play. He was good in spot starts. I don't know how he's going to hold up over a season. I do think they got the steal of the draft and Josh Simmons, so he's probably a future building piece there. But yeah, like you said, they kind of running it back. Added some pieces here and there. Schedule's not gonna like obviously harder schedule things like that. I do think Ravens, Bills, maybe possibly the better teams, and we'll get to the Bills next. But yeah, I think at some point Kansas City's luck has to run out, right? Like it has to run out,
Yeah,
right?
right. Exactly.
I'm tired of hearing like Kansas City in the playoffs. Dude, I'm really rooting to see the Chiefs miss the playoffs. Like, and I'm not even a Raider fan. Just as an NFL fan, I'm just tired of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, can we like not have them be in the playoffs anymore? Like, that's what I want.
I mean, they're fun to root against. I will say but I don't want to see them in the Super Bowl again. I want to see one of these other teams. Just please, someone else get to the Super Bowl because I'm tired of the same old storylines. I don't want to see 2 weeks of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift content. She's probably going to perform at the Super Bowl. I
That's
wouldn't be
the rumor.
surprised.
That's the rumor. Maybe they get married at the Super Bowl halftime show, Khaled. Maybe that's what it is now.
Well, I don't know if you've seen, but like now that they've gotten engaged, everyone's like, "Oh, Kelsey was 100% going to propose at the Super Bowl if they won." Obviously, they got smacked, so it was a different story. You're not going to propose after you lose by 30 points or whatever it was. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm going just a tad under. I think just the law of averages, like they could have easily gone 11-6 last year. Still would have been a really good team. I still wouldn't have picked against them in the playoffs, but they just got so many crazy bounces that you have to think like in one score games, the luck is such a huge factor. It's literally the bounce of a ball. It's literally a fingertip on a extra point that makes the difference. I'm hoping just come back to earth a little bit. I think the rest of the division is going to be good, going to be competitive. I think there's going to be three playoff teams from the AFC West. No, spoiler alert. But yeah, 11 wins for me, just a tad under. Still a great team, still very competitive. ChatGPT agrees with both of us with 11 wins. So who did you pick for your fantasy sleeper and bust?
Yeah, my sleeper is Brashard Smith, the running back that they drafted. He looks quick. He looks like an exciting running back. So I think there's some work for him as like a third down back, pass catching back. And then it kind of feeds into my bust because I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to be a bust. Like I don't know how this guy keeps getting the starting job in Kansas City. Like I've never seen anything hit. Like every time I watch him play, it's like he doesn't look impressive. Like how is he starting running back for the Chiefs? Like that's what I always feel when I watch him. But then he does some crazy runs or he has some yardage, and you're like, okay, I guess he's decent. But I think Brashard
He
Smith
runs
gets more.
hard,
He
runs
runs
hard.
hard. He runs hard. I'll give him that. I think Brashard Smith is more explosive, more athletic, and so probably fits a little bit better what Mahomes wants to do, at least on third downs and pass catching downs. So I think Brashard Smith has some value. He's going undrafted. Nobody's bidding on him in auctions. You could probably add him as a free agent pickup when he starts getting hot.
Yeah, I had to look him up when I saw the name. I was like, who the hell is that? So my sleeper, this is a name you probably haven't heard in a while, Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think this is his third year on the Chiefs. I think he's going to be the biggest beneficiary of the Rashee Rice suspension. So get him while he's hot. And I feel like Mahomes trusts him. He's been there for a few years now. He's probably his most experienced wide receiver, which is kind of crazy. I feel like he's still a kid. And my bust is Rashee Rice. I mean, you're gone for 6 games. I think it's hard to reintegrate in the middle of a season. And it's just another one of those guys where I'm just like, I'm gonna avoid you for the same reason. Just same thing, a knucklehead. He's trying to do his rehab tour. I don't know if you saw, but he was like giving out pizza to homeless people, and they made sure to have a camera crew around with him.
I
So
mean, I one thing just to add on that, and not to derail this call, but like I do
no,
feel
please.
the NFL is hypocritical in its like how it suspends players. Like 6 games for what he did was probably fair, but when you look at what else players are getting suspended for, and it's like 3 games, 4 games, I'm like I don't know. Like I didn't think what he did was as egregious as like you know beating up your wife in an elevator, right? That's what Ray Rice got. What 8 games for that, or his fiance at the
He
time, whatever
initially
it was.
got, I think he got 2 games until the video came out, and
It
that
was it
that
was
was a
like
different
four. It was
story.
like
But
3 games or something. Yeah, it was bad. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like a 3 game, 4 game suspension. Like if you're giving someone 3 games for a DUI, that's probably what Rashee Rice deserves is a 3 game suspension. Like this is like the equivalent of a DUI to me. Like I don't know how the NFL's like this was way worse, right? Like he was speeding and yeah, he
yeah,
got
they have
caught
like a
for that.
scale.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, I don't even know if it was a DUI for him. I think he was just driving hella
he was just
fast
driving
when he
fast.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he caused. I think he caused an accident, and so maybe that's why it was like a little bit more. But like, but he wasn't drunk. He was just speeding. Like I don't know.
He's also coming off a season-ending injury. So I think the thing that's being underreported is the fact that I want to say he tore his ACL. So he did miss
Yeah, he did
the
tear his
second
ACL.
half of the season last year anyway. So I'm like, that's just a lot of factors against him. Like six weeks is a long time to be suspended. Again, he's a knucklehead. It's just he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's gonna like stay in shape, stay sharp, and be ready to play week 7. I mean, they're coming back against he's coming back against the Raiders, so thank you for that, NFL. So we'll see how that goes. Like I might be eating crow on this one, but yeah, I'm staying away from Rashee Rice unless it's like a super late value pick and you can stash him. I don't think you can put suspended guys on IR, so I don't know if you want to eat that roster spot
You
for
can in
6 weeks,
certain
but
leagues,
not in any of them that I've been in,
not in
unfortunately.
Yahoo. So Yahoo doesn't let you, but Sleeper has a setting where you can toggle that on. So
Yeah, there you go. See, Yahoo's got to be like the moral arbiter here. Be like, nope, if they're suspended, you got to take up a roster spot. But I'm sure people will be scrambling to pick them up like a week or two before. Uh, especially if there's some other, depending on how the rest of the Chiefs offense looks. All right, we're getting down to the end of our contenders here. The Buffalo Bills, uh, again, fell short in the playoffs to the Kansas City Chiefs. They just can't get over that hump. Their projected win total 11.5. They made a few changes this offseason. They gave James Cook a ton of money. No real, major departures on the defensive side. So they're kind of bringing everybody back, bringing the gang back. And they had a pretty good defense last year. What was your prediction here for the Bills?
Yeah, I went 12 wins. I went just over that 11.5. I do think they're going to be right there with the Ravens at the top of the AFC and the Chiefs. Um, so I do think a really good team with Josh Allen around. You always have a chance. Obviously, concerns about his wide receivers, but they added cornerbacks, they added defensive tackle, they added Maxwell Harrison in the first round, T.J. Sanders in the second round. So I mean, I think their defense is going to be great. Offense is going to be just keep on rolling with Josh Allen, James Cook, and the three random wide receivers that nobody seems to want to draft. And they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Like as long as you have Josh Allen,
here go.
Yeah, nobody wants these guys. So, but I do think they're still just a great team, and they'll probably like maybe find like they did last year with Amari Cooper, but then he didn't really work out for them. But like they'll find some guy who wants off his team, and maybe it's a Tyreek Hill trade happening mid-season, right when the Dolphins are maybe out of this. So I do see the Bills being just fine. You have Josh Allen, you have a great defense. You're gonna be at the top of the AFC. Like I think they've showed that every year, so they can do it.
Yeah, he's reached the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Roethlisberger level where you can kind of pencil in like 9 wins just off himself, and then you add a couple here and there just based on the rest of the team. They still have a good team around him. They went out and got Josh Palmer, who's okay. Keon Coleman, year 2, maybe people are interested in that. Dalton Kincaid, year 2, maybe people are interested in that. I feel like we'll talk about the fantasy aspect when we get there, but yeah, I went 11 wins 12 wins for the Bills. So, over ChatGPT said 10. So maybe they think the division's going to be tougher. I don't know. So who are your fantasy picks for the Bills?
Yeah, you touched on it. Keon Coleman is my sleeper. I do like him. I think year 2 of Keon Coleman, I thought he'd have a better year 1, but a lot of receivers do struggle year 1, right? Especially the guys who aren't used to it. And Keon Coleman clearly was not used to the grind of the NFL. So I do think year 2 is kind of where you see wide receivers that may not have excelled year 1 kind of come into their own. And even the guys that excelled year 1, they even take a leap in year 2. So year 2 is normally a good year for wide receivers. And I think Keon Coleman can be that guy. He can make that leap. If he's not, we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see. But I do like him as a sleeper pick. He's going pretty late in rounds, and you can get him for $1 or $2 in auction drafts, things like that. So I do like him. He's been forgotten. And my bust, this is gonna hurt our dear friend Nasser's heart. It's gonna be Khalil Shakir. I don't think he was. I don't know, man. He didn't show much last year. I don't think he's that slot guy they were looking for. He's kind of average. He's like maybe I see him as like very similar to Hunter Renfrow. Like he's just okay. He just has to be fed maybe targets like off like quick screens.
I don't like that insult that you threw at my guy Renfrow. But
hey, he got cut by the Panthers, bro. What do you want? He's been cut by the Raiders, cut by the Panthers, working a sales job. Like I'm just saying, like he's nothing more than that, right? Like, he's like maybe a slot guy where you can feed him off screens and things like that. But I don't see him as like a field stretcher or anything like that.
He's not, but I think he has the volume to basically justify his selection. I get you. That's fine. We don't need to agree. It's actually better if we don't agree. Well, we agreed on the sleeper. We both picked Keon Coleman. Again, I was trying to pick somebody different, so you probably changed your pick. I think you had Ray Davis before this.
I did. But
James
then
Cook signed.
Yeah, and then James Cook signed, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm going Keon Coleman now.
That's fine. Yeah, for all the reasons, year 2. I feel like unless the receiver went to LSU or Ohio State, they're going to struggle year 1. Maybe just LSU because it's like Brian Thomas, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, OBJ. It's like, yeah, just draft a receiver from LSU.
And Neighbors was LSU too.
Yeah, there you go. Neighbors breaking rookie records last season until Brock Bowers broke it. So yeah, just draft LSU wide receivers. You'll be good. My bust is Josh Palmer. I just don't think he's that good. Maybe injuries hampered him in LA with the Chargers. They had high hopes for him. He never really panned out. So maybe I just don't see it, and I think that's why guys like Shakir and Knox and Kincaid and these other guys will benefit because he's okay, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. All right, last team here, the Super Bowl champs. Maybe we should have led with the Super Bowl champs. But the Philadelphia Eagles, their projected win total 11.5. They signed a ton of guys on defense, added Adoree Jackson, Azeez Ojulari. They went out and basically, tried to rebuild the offensive line, keep that continuity going. Despite losing Jason Kelce the year before, just an absolute juggernaut of a team. In terms of key departures, they signed a couple, or they missed a couple, lost out on a couple guys like Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, Gardner Johnson, etc. So a little bit of a reshuffled defense, but still probably one of the best teams and units in the NFL. Who did you have for the Eagles over?
Yeah, I had the Eagles just going slightly under at 11. I feel like they lost a couple of key guys on the defense in Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, kind of key pieces there. Again, man, what do I know? They just keep finding guys out of seventh rounds that are like turned into like studs, like all pro players. So what do I know? Maybe they have a guy sitting on the roster that we don't even know about. So yeah, I mean, I feel like again, harder schedule. There are Super Bowl champs. There's a little bit of Super Bowl fatigue even for the champs. Not to say they're crash completely, but yeah, I think 11 wins is pretty reasonable. They added, like they added guys again like Jihad Campbell, Andrew I'm gonna struggle with this one, Mukubra. Like so they
I
added
got you.
guys on. They added guys on the defense. Like I think the Eagles just do a great job of just building, man. Like they stole Azeez Ojulari in the free agency. Like I can't believe they got him for like cheap. Like he's another pass rusher. He's gonna basically replace Josh Sweat. So like they're always like they always have one eye forward, but they're also like very focused in the present. And so like they just do a great job of team building. And I mean I can't see them going no lower than 11 wins. Maybe you can maybe have talked me into 12, maybe, but it's just like I felt on the fence. So I was like, I'll just take the under there at 11.
Yeah, they're a juggernaut to me. I think they just keep rolling, 13, 14 wins, I think is realistic for them. ChatGPT said 10, so they're seeing some regression. The only way I see this like even slightly derailing is if they lose Saquon Barkley for a few games, which we can talk about in the fantasy side of things. But I think even if he misses time, I think they just have enough of a infrastructure around him to still succeed. I think they benefit from not a weak division, but a weaker division. I think we'll talk about the Cowboys and the Giants and the other teams in the division, but I don't think that there's enough in the NFC to really challenge them at this point. I think they just keep on rolling. So who did you have for your fantasy picks?
Yeah. Were you going over on that, Khaled? You didn't say.
Oh yeah, yeah. I said 13, 14, so
Oh, you
definitely
said 13,
over
14.
on
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, for sure. Just making sure you were over. Okay, cool. Fantasy picks. Sleeper. I'll go Jahan Dotson. I do think there is some ability for him to get some reps. AJ Brown, a little bit older. He always misses a couple of games. Devontae Smith always misses a couple of games. So I do think Dotson could be fantasy relevant with some injury luck, and he's probably that third down wide receiver. Like they bring in 3 wide receiver sets. I do like him. I will say I only call Jalen Hurts a relative bust in the sense that I don't think he's going to keep stealing all those touchdowns from Saquon Barkley like he did last year. So there's some touchdown regression for him there in terms of rushing touchdowns. But maybe he can make it up with passing touchdowns. I don't know. We'll see. But I do
So
think
relative bust.
relative bust. I do think there's a touchdown regression coming for Jalen Hurts. So I wouldn't take him at his current ADP. So that's it. Yeah.
My sleeper is AJ Dillon. He didn't play last year, but he was always a great backup running back. He is a massive guy. He's a great goal line, short yardage back. So I know that this is the team, the tush push team, but maybe they back off a little bit from that, start giving these carries to AJ Dillon. Maybe they put him under center. I don't know, uh, but I feel like he'll succeed. He missed all of last year, so he's fresh. He's ready to take on some of the carries from Saquon Barkley, and that's why he is my relative bust. I did some research that the season after a 2,000-yard season is usually not great for NFL running backs. O.J. Simpson did not have a great year after. They all had, for the most part, with the exception of Jamal Lewis, who got hurt and got suspended, and Derrick Henry, who got hurt and missed most of the season after. The other guys did okay. They were around 1,100, 1,200 yards. So I'm seeing him go for 65, 70, $75 in auction draft, which I think is just crazy considering the volume that he had. He had like 400 touches last year. And I think the Eagles, that's the reason they brought in like a big bruiser like AJ Dillon. They're like, you know what? We're going to give this guy his fair share of carries. I know you don't want to take the ball away from your playmakers that much, but I mean, AJ Dillon is still a good running back, and he'll be able to take some of the bruising and the hits on that side of the ball. So again, relative bust for Saquon.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I do think it's hard to trust Saquon, especially as your first pick.
Or spending $75.
Yeah, 70, 75. Okay.
All right, our next category here is the playoff contenders. So these are teams with a projected win total of 9.5. There's a glut here of teams all hovering around this. I'm sure there's been some shift here and there, but when we made this, they were all around 9.5. So maybe they dropped half a game here and there, whatever it might be. Anyway, we will start with the Cincinnati Bengals. So this has been a weird team, a lot of drama around this team as usual with Trey Hendrickson, but they ended up bringing him back. But there's just always something happening with this team. Their first round pick, Shamar Stewart, almost went back to college over some
That was weird.
language in the contract. But anyway, their projected win total is 9.5. What did you have for the Bengals?
Yeah, I think they're good enough to get to 10 wins. I think they, did a decent job of kind of restocking the defense and through the draft. They brought Trey Hendrickson back in. So things like that, I think they'll be fine. I mean, you saw this offense, you saw Joe Burrow. I do think Shamar Stewart, finally that they got him signed, got him in, he's going to be a great addition. Demetrius Knight is also going to be a great addition to this team. I like the offense hasn't changed much. Joe Burrow is going to be just fine. I do think their schedule is probably okay, middle of the pack. I think strength of schedule, but I do expect some regression from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and those guys that put up monster numbers just to get them to an 8-win team last year. So hopefully the defense can not blow games like they were last year, where like we saw it right when we watched the quarterback documentary where Joe Burrow's like, "Oh man, I got this. I put up 35 points. We're definitely gonna win this game." And then they end up losing, right? And he was just like, "What?" Like you can see it on his face, like, "What the f? How did we lose when we were up this big?" So it's. I think they can go over 10 wins. Is where I'm putting them at. I think they get in there as a wild card team for sure.
Yeah, on the Bengals, I'll go slightly over at 10 wins. I don't think that, I think the offense is going to be a juggernaut like it has been. I haven't seen any real improvement on the defensive side of the ball. I know it's great. They brought back Trey Hendrickson, who was a great player, a big difference maker, but the rest of the team, I just don't see much of a defense. I think it's going to be the same story as last year where they're putting up a ton of points and they're just not able to stop anybody. ChatGPT actually has them at 8 wins, so it has them as, well under their projected win total. So what did you have for their fantasy picks here?
Yeah, actually, I went with a really, really deep sleeper in Jermaine Burton. I liked him last year. I liked him coming out of the draft. I think he's gonna get some work in here. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I just liked him out of the draft. I thought there was a reason they took him, and hopefully he gets some work in with as the guy maybe behind Chase and Higgins, and especially if Higgins misses time with injury, which he has a history of doing. So I do think there's a role that Burton can carve out. And if you're drafting T. Higgins, definitely draft some other Bengal wide receiver that's behind him, because he's definitely going to miss games. Relative bust, Joe Burrow. Like I said, I do think there's going to be some regression in his stats. He's not going to put up 35 touchdowns, something like that. Is that what he had?
4,800 yards, almost 5,000 yards.
Yeah, almost 5.
Something like that.
Definitely going to regress in yards and touchdowns, I feel, for Joe Burrow. And he's not going to be as great as he was last year. That's why I call him a bust this year.
Yeah. My sleeper along the same lines is Andre Iosivas. I think he's their slot receiver right now, but he played well last year as a rookie, came on strong when T. Higgins missed some time. And we know the Bengals throw the ball around a lot, so I think there is enough volume, especially if one of those guys goes down. My bust, again, it's relative, is Jamar Chase. I don't see him repeating that triple crown that he did last year where they just went nuts. I think part of it was just the fact that they were behind so often and they were just all in all these shootouts. I think they still will be in those shootouts, but I just don't see him matching that same level of production, which was pretty crazy last season. All right. Next, the Denver Broncos. They made the playoffs as a wild card in Bo Nix's rookie season. They finally took a leap under Sean Payton. They're over under again 9.5. They added a bunch of pieces on defense. They added a rookie running back early in the draft. Didn't lose anybody too big. Lost Javonte Williams, their starting running back last year, but he was in and out of the lineup a lot. What did you have for the Broncos here?
Yeah, I had him going over too. I had him at 10 wins. I like what Bo Nix did last year. I'm hoping he doesn't hit that second year quarterback wall and get figured out by the league. So I do think I like the pieces they added on the defense with Greenlaw, Hufanga, both ex-Niners. They added Evan Ingram for a tight end. So I think they got him some weapons, and he already had Sutton. They added Pat Bryant. So they added guys for him, and they had Marvin Mims Jr. So it's like, and then RJ Harvey comes along, J.K. Dobbins. So like what they're building on the offense, Sean Payton, he's a great coach. So I do think they are a 10-win team. I think they go over, and they could also be one of those potential wild card teams here in the AFC.
Yeah, I had them at 10 wins as well. ChatGPT had them at 7. So that's interesting. Maybe they are predicting that second year slump from Bo Nix, but there's enough of an infrastructure on this team that even if he struggles a bit, which he did last year, he wasn't great last year. He came on strong at the end of the season, but he had a lot of games where he didn't look like a first round pick, I'll say. But their defense was incredible. It should be even better this year. A lot of people are putting them as the number one fantasy defense. So there are a lot of talent on this team. They have the reigning defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain. So I think it's not an easy 10 wins, but I can definitely see them challenging even for the AFC West crown, depending on how things go in Kansas City. So who are your fantasy picks for them?
Yeah, my sleeper is Marvin Mims Jr. I do think he can get some good work out of the slot, and he's also going to be kind of the second wide receiver there in Denver. So I do think there's some opportunity for him to kind of shine, and he's going very low in drafts. So I do think there's an opportunity for him to outplay his ADP. Bust, I'm going to say it's RJ Harvey. I think people are getting maybe a little too much into the hype of RJ Harvey. Remember, he's a rookie running back, and they also brought in Dobbins. I do think, you saw what Dobbins did last year before he got hurt. He was a beast. And so I think Dobbins is actually going to be more of a 50-50 timeshare with Harvey. So I wouldn't expect much out of either of them. But it's gonna be good for the Broncos offense, not so good for either one of them fantasy wise. So I think RJ Harvey's my bust.
That's funny that you said that. I mean, my sleeper is Evan Ingram. I've been
I
seeing
love
him
that.
go undrafted. I know that's your guy. I was surprised you didn't pick him. He's getting a lot of love from like the fantasy nerds. He's a good player, just has some injury issues. He's kind of inconsistent at times, but definitely, I think a big role for him on this team, especially with a young quarterback. I guess Bo Nix is not that young. He's 26.
He's a
Yeah, he's an old young quarterback. My bust is J.K. Dobbins. I know he's listed as the starter. Maybe I'm buying into the R.J. Harvey hype, but it seems like he's being groomed for that starting role. I think I think by week 2, week 3, he's going to be getting the starting carries. I'm seeing like a Bucky Irving, Rashad White type
really.
dynamic
Oh
here.
wow. I think they're gonna be 50-50 all season, man. I think Harvey takes it next year, but I think it'll be 50-50 all season.
Well, I'm glad we disagreed because then we'll be able to find out. And
Yeah.
then we'll revisit this again in the offseason in the summer. Next, the Green Bay Packers. They're over under 9.5. They did pretty well last season despite some early injuries to Jordan Love. They added Matthew Golden as the primary weapon. They finally spend a first round pick on a wide receiver, which they haven't done in like 30 years. Aaron Rodgers is probably really mad right now. But again, they're over under 9.5, just like everybody else. What did you have for the Packers?
Yeah, I had him just going right over that 10 wins. I do think, Jordan Love not being healthy last season kind of cost them a couple of wins, but I do think they have a really good defense. I mean, we heard rumors that they were trying to trade from Micah Parsons, so maybe they get it done. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
we're
yeah,
recording this on August 28th, so maybe by the time you listen to this, he is a Packer. We'll see.
we'll see. We'll see. The rumors are floating out there, so I do think 10 wins is definitely easy. But again, they have to play the Lions twice. They have to play the Vikings twice. They have to play the Bears twice. So I probably would have been much higher if they weren't in the NFC North. But I'll give them 10 wins here.
I'm really high on this team. I'm going 11 wins over. ChatGPT is not high on this team. They have him at 8 wins. I am a believer in Jordan Love. I think if you do get a full healthy season from him, I think he has the potential to be an elite quarterback, especially in the NFC, which is currently lacking in some of these elite quarterbacks. You know, if you ask 10 people who the best quarterback in the NFC is, you probably get 5 answers. So there's a lot of debate there. So I think there is a path for them to be one of the better teams in the NFL. I think they're going to be the Vikings of last year, where they're a wild card team, even though they win, 12, maybe 13 games. So I definitely think they have the potential to do that. I love Josh Jacobs. I love the weapons they have. They have, two good tight ends. Most teams don't have one. So a lot of talent on this side of the ball. And defensively, if they get Micah Parsons, that's a different conversation. I definitely could see them challenging. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the division, regardless of whether they get Parsons or not. But that will definitely change their projection if that happens. So on the fantasy side, who you got here for them?
Yeah, I went with my sleepers, Tucker Kraft. I do think he can be very fantasy relevant here. I think he could finish as a top 5 tight end actually in fantasy. Like if I'm like that high on Tucker Kraft here. Like if he gets I think there's volume there, and I think Golden is the only other person that can kind of steal some volume from him. But that's really it. I don't like the rest of the Green Bay wide receivers. I don't love Jaden Reed. Don't love Romeo Dobbs. I don't love any of those guys, right? Like they're just whatever. Like Christian Watson still there? I have no clue.
He's there. He's never healthy, so I wouldn't
He's
even
never healthy,
count him
right?
as part of
Yeah.
the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't,
Who's
I
your
don't, I
bust?
don't like the rest of this. My bust is it's Josh Jacobs only because he had so much volume last year. I think again, like this is the same kind of thing with Saquon, right? Where it's like too much volume is never good the next year for the running back. And Josh Jacobs' body's gonna be he's gonna get banged up, I feel, and you're gonna have to rely on one of those backup running backs like Marshawn Lloyd or whoever else is there on the Green Bay depth chart. But yeah, so I'm down here for Josh Jacobs for me because of the volume he had last year.
Yeah, they definitely leaned on him heavily, especially those 2 games that Jordan Love missed, and then as they were bringing him along slowly, they definitely leaned on Jacobs. I still think he's going to be great. I think they may work him in the passing game a little bit more to get him out in space. He scored his first receiving touchdown last year, which was crazy, like first career receiving touchdown, which is a crazy stat considering he's been around for a while now. Like he actually, I think he was in Oakland, yeah, so he's been around for a few years now. So I was very shocked to see that, but he's a great player, and I think he'll have plenty of success. Again, my sleeper, not even really a sleeper, but I'm seeing some people kind of forget about him, and that is Matthew Golden. I think he's not listed as a starter right now on their depth chart, which is surprising, but I think he'll overtake some of the guys in front of him, and that leads to my bust, and that's Romeo Dobbs. He's another one of those guys that's like a knucklehead. He always seems to be clashing with coaches, and he has issues with drops and things like that. He's just a guy, he's like a George Pickens type where it's like at some point the talent is not going to be worth the headache that he brings to the game. And eventually they'll not move on from him, but definitely, push him down the pecking order, especially as Golden and Love get more comfortable. All right, next up, the Houston Texans. So they made the playoffs last year, won the division, they won a playoff game, they beat the Chargers, had a great season despite a bit of a dip from CJ Stroud in his second season, where he didn't look quite as good as his rookie year. They add Nick Chubb. They may or may not have Joe Mixon for the whole season, depending on how things go, but they added some pieces on defense as well. What did you have for the Texans here?
Yeah, I had them just going right over that 9.5 at 10 wins. I think their defense is good enough to do that. I know there's some concerns about the offensive line, but I think they've done enough between free agents and the draft that they addressed that. They've given Stroud some more weapons with Kirk, Jaden Higgins in the draft. So, and then he obviously has Nico. So like I think they're good enough to win the AFC South with 10 wins. I think that's where they're at.
You might be able to win it with 9
Yeah,
at
it's
this point.
possible they might even win with 9. But I think how weak the AFC South is, like 10 wins is easy for the Texans.
Yeah, that's why I had him at 11, just because I don't trust any other team in that division. I don't think, especially the quarterbacks, there's just not in much talent there. So yeah, 11 wins for them. ChatGPT has them at 10, so they went over. What are your fantasy picks for the Texans?
Yeah, my sleeper, my deep sleeper, Woody Marks. I think
I
could
legitimately had look that name up when you
Yeah, yeah. I get deep,
I
man.
was like,
Sometimes I get too deep, Khaled. I get too deep on the sleepers.
yeah, like who the hell is that?
I do think there is a path to him being the running back RB1 in Houston come midseason. I think there's a path there, and that a lot of it has to do with Joe Mixon missing time. I think Chubb is good, but Chubb is not the same Nick Chubb. Uh, he's a little slower, obviously. I mean, coming off those kind of injuries that he has, I do think Woody Marks is explosive. He's looked explosive in preseason. I mean, who else is there? Damian Pierce. I don't think
Yeah,
he's doing
Damian
anything.
Pierce,
Nobody, nobody likes that
Ogunbowale.
guy.
I want to say he's
Yeah,
there, but he's a whatever back. Yeah.
yeah. So I think Woody Marks has an opportunity to kind of step in and be a guy. But and then that leads me to my bust, Joe Mixon. He's hurt. I think he misses the entire season. Like I don't know why people are even drafting him. I think he's out the entire season.
Yeah, I that's the easy pick for the bust. I didn't want to just repeat that, but I saw the other day they said the Texans GM was non-committal about whether he was going to play this season or not. So I would avoid him, maybe stash him on IR if you can, because I think he is on short-term IR right now. I could just see them stringing it along, and okay, maybe, and then it's going to be like a McCaffrey situation last year where he plays a couple games, maybe, and then just gets put on long-term IR. I do believe in Nick Chubb. I'm seeing him go undrafted in a couple of my draft, and he's currently listed as the starter on their depth chart. So I'm not understanding why people are forgetting about him. Maybe I need to be in more competitive leagues. I don't know what it is, but I believe in him. I think he'll come back strong. I have faith. I mean, I've only seen like training camp videos and stuff, but he looks fast. He's not the same Nick Chubb, but I think he'll be good enough. And I think there's enough weapons on this offense where like it's going to be crazy, but Nick Chubb is like the sixth guy you're worried about on this offense because of all the other talent around it. And then my bust is Christian Kirk. I still think he's a talented wide receiver, but I think just based on like volume and all the other guys around him, I think some of the other rookies and stuff are going to surpass him by midseason. And I wouldn't spend too much money on him, if any money at all, on Christian. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers. So an interesting team last year. They have a great defense. I believe they're the number one defense in the NFL, which is shocking. Most people probably wouldn't remember that. Had a average offense. They end up signing Najee Harris. They draft Amarian Hampton. They bring back Keenan Allen. They lose Joey Bosa, even though he plays 8 games a year. But a lot of turnover on this team on the defensive side of the ball. But they're over under 9.5. What did you have for the Chargers here?
Yeah, I had him going 10 wins. Now I'm thinking about it. I may be a little too high on the AFC West here with all their wins. But I do like what they're doing there. I think they're going to be right there in the mix with the Broncos in terms of competing for the division and the wild card spot. But obviously, one may not make it. But I like what they're doing. Again, a lot of this is going to come down to Justin Herbert and his quarterback play. He has to elevate this offense. He has to show what he showed maybe like 2 years ago, not what he showed last year, 3 years ago when Justin Herbert was healthy and rolling. So if they get that Justin Herbert, I think they make even a play for the division. The defense is really good, even though they lost Joey Bosa. But let's be real, Joey Bosa misses more than half the season pretty much every year. So I like what they're doing out there. You can never count out Jim Harbaugh. He always knows how to get the most out of his players, and he just built himself a run first team here with Najee Harris and Amari and Hampton. So I like 10 wins for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've met 10 wins as well. I think they are another playoff team. I don't think it's like crazy to say that the AFC West gets 3 playoff teams again for all the reasons that you said. Harbaugh, I mean Herbert, I think Harbaugh kind of reeled him in a little bit and like let's do that run first approach to protect him because he did miss the season before, most of the season before with injury, and he's the type of guy that's I don't want to say he's reckless, but he does have like a gunslinger streak, and he is a little bit reckless when he's out there running the ball, and he doesn't shy away from contact. So there's just I would say there's a ceiling on this team as long as Harbaugh is there because he's trying to rein it in and play that more conservative style of football, which is good enough to get you 10 wins, but I don't know if it's good enough to take like the division or that leap after that. And I don't know if they can have a number one defense again, missing some of the guys that they lost out. I think Asante Samuel is gone as well. So I'm expecting a little bit of not a regression, but kind of an improvement on offense and a bit of a step back on defense to average out to, again, about 10 wins. ChatGPT has them at 9, which might still be good enough to make the playoffs as a 7 seed. Who do you have for their fantasy picks?
Yeah, my sleeper is Amari and Hampton. I don't know if this is a sleeper anymore. I will say
No, it's
sleeper.
not.
I will say he's a sleeper in the sense that I think he could finish top 5 as a fantasy running back, top 5 fantasy running back, like sleeper in that sense. I think he's been.
You don't think that Najee Harris is going to sneak in there and take some of his volume?
He might, but like, bro, it's Najee Harris. He couldn't run. He could not run in an Arthur Smith run first offense. Like, I don't think he's that explosive. He's not the guy that Amari and Hampton is. Amari and Hampton is explosive. He's big. He's guys are, you know, he guys are like falling off him. They can't tackle him. So I think Amari and Hampton, top 5 fantasy running back, book it, Khaled. And yeah,
Okay. I mean, there was talk about him being like the first running back taken. I mean, I know Genti had all the hype, but he was
yeah.
ended up being the second running back. But people are like, oh, no, maybe Hampton is a better running back than Genti. We'll see.
I don't know, man. He gives me prime Adrian Peterson vibes. That's what I get from Hampton. Prime AP.
High praise, high praise. Sorry, and
Yeah.
then who's your
I mean, Quentin Johnson, that's my bust. Like, I don't know how he's still on the Chargers roster, if I'm being honest. Um, that's the guy I go with as a bust. Like, I don't know, man. He's fast, he's strong, he just can't catch. Like, how many times have we seen this guy in the NFL? Like, you don't have hands. What are you doing as a wide receiver, bro? You might as well play cornerback.
Yeah, big fast can't catch. Not a great. I mean, good combo until the can't catch part.
Until the can't catch part. So maybe you're better off being a corner. So yeah, I think QJ's a bust. Just don't draft him. He like you should stay away from him, and especially because they added like Trey Harris as well. So stay away from QJ and focus on Lad McConkey, and that's about it.
Yeah. So my sleeper is a guy I've been seeing all over Twitter with training camp highlights and preseason highlights, and that's Keandre Lambert Smith. I think he's the one that's going to benefit from Quentin Johnson taking a step back. I think Johnson got a concussion in one of the preseason games, took a nasty hit on a pass that he dropped. He probably should have caught it. Maybe he wouldn't have got it if he caught it. So yeah, a lot of people are high on this kid. Maybe it takes him a little bit of time to get caught up, but I do see him as like a deep sleeper type, especially in dynasty leagues. So that's a little spoiler alert for our dynasty draft coming up. Bust, Justin Herbert, again, just relative. I don't think that he's going to have the volume. He's not going to be put in the position to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game because that's just not what John Harbaugh wants or Jim Harbaugh wants. So if you can get him, if it's a super flex, sure. But I think if you're in a traditional one QB league, you're better off with someone like Bo Nix or I don't know. There's a ton of guys I would take ahead of him just based on volume, not based on talent. All right, next up, the Los Angeles Rams. So last season, they make the playoffs. They push the Super Bowl champs to the brink. They're over under 9.5. They signed Devontae Adams. They signed Jimmy Garoppolo. They have a talented defense from last year. They got the defensive rookie of the year, a surprisingly good defensive unit despite the loss of Aaron Donald. What do you have for the Rams?
Yeah, I have them as an 8-win team. I do think, again, harder schedule, the health of Matthew Stafford up in the air. You starting Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback if Matthew Stafford's going down. I'm concerned. Jimmy G has not looked like a starting quarterback in years now. I mean, it's been like, what, 4 years since he's actually looked like a starting quarterback. So yeah, I don't think you can win if Matthew Stafford is not healthy and Matthew Stafford is not out there playing games and leading this offense. I just don't see them winning. I think their defense is good enough to get them to 8 wins. But if Matthew Stafford's not out there, I don't see them doing more than that.
Yeah, I'm not liking any of the stuff around him and his back. And, anytime it comes down to a back issue, like it just, he could be healthy and then he takes a blindside hit or he takes off running, he slides wrong. I would stay away from this team. I mean, it's like scaring me away from Devontae Adams as well. I would still go with like Kyron Williams, some of these other guys, just anywhere. I'm just nervous about anybody on this Rams team from a fantasy perspective, even just a real life perspective. I have them at 7 wins. I think that they regress considerably. I think just because of Stafford and those issues. I mean, he's getting older. He's 37, 38 years old, so he's not that young. ChatGPT has him at 9 wins, so they have him just under. Who are your fantasy picks here for them?
Yeah, my sleeper is Blake Corum. I think he was getting a lot of hype last year. They're like, oh yeah, Blake Corum's gonna split with Kyron Williams or he's going to steal some volume from him. I think it's going to happen this year in the sense that I don't think the Rams will be throwing as much, especially if Stafford's not out there. Jimmy Garoppolo's out there. They're going to rely heavily on the run game. And I do think Blake Corum has a chance to earn some volume there as a third down back, maybe some pass catching ability here and there. A bust, I go Devontae Adams. I just don't see it, especially with Jimmy G. We saw this happen last year, Khaled. It happened again in preseason where it was like not even preseason, it was like a joint practice where Jimmy led him over the middle, and if it was a real game, Devontae is getting lit up. So I don't know why Devontae Adams signed here knowing Jimmy Garoppolo was there.
I think he signed first, and then Jimmy G.
Okay, is that what happened? He's like, damn it. He's like, damn it. He's like, can I get out of this deal? Yeah, I just don't see enough volume there for Devontae to be successful, especially with Puka there as a number one wide receiver.
Yeah, if Stafford was healthy, I would be all in on Adams. But I don't see that happening. Happy to be proven wrong. My sleeper is their new tight end, Terrence Ferguson. So they use a high draft pick on him. I don't think any of the other tight ends on the team, Higbee or the other dudes, are that impressive. So I think he's going to be the beneficiary, even if Jimmy G is out there. I think he will benefit from just being a high draft pick and getting worked into the offense. Bust is Stafford, just for all the reasons that we talked about, the injuries and everything else. I don't feel comfortable betting on that happening and him playing a full season. All right. Next, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They win the NFC South last year. They were a playoff team, and seems like the prediction is that they are back in the mix with, again, a projected win total of 9.5. They draft Emeka Egbuka. They rebuild their defense, which was mediocre last season, and they have a rejuvenated Baker Mayfield. And apparently Chris Godwin is going to be back from injury as early as week 2 or week 3. So a lot to be excited about on this team. What did you have for the Buccaneers?
I'm not as excited about them. I give them 8 wins. I feel like there's some regression coming from Baker Mayfield. I know he has the weapons. I know they have Bucky Irving, but I just don't like what their defense is. And I don't think there's not enough Baker magic for them to become a playoff team again. I think the defense is going to get torched. So they're going to have to win shootouts, similar to what the Bengals had to do last year. And I don't think Baker Mayfield is Joe Burrow by any means to keep them in a playoff hunt. So I do think 8 wins, even 8 wins might be tough for them.
Interesting. I think this is one where we really disagree.
I think, I see it. We really disagree on this one. Go ahead, Colin. Hit me with yours.
Yeah, I'm putting them at 11 wins, so comfortably over their projected win total. I think their offense is going to be good enough. I think their defense is going to, I should say, their offense is going to be great, and their defense is going to be good enough. The division is nothing special. I know we're expecting an improvement from Carolina and Atlanta, but I still think they are the best team in the division. I still like their head coach. I know they lost Liam Cohen, but I just have faith in the continuity of this team and the talent on this team. ChatGPT agrees with you. They put you at 8 wins. So we'll see if you and the AI line up in the offseason.
We will.
What are your fantasy picks for them?
Yeah, I think we have the same sleeper here, Khaled. I mean, this guy's like the obvious sleeper pick. It's Emeka Egbuka. He's just so talented, man. He's just so talented, and I think he will be wide receiver 2. He may even be wide receiver 1. Like Mike Evans is getting old too, so I could see him getting the volume where he's just getting targets, and I feel like the Bucs are going to be playing from behind so much that he's going to get the volume to be a pretty good fantasy wide receiver year 1. Bust though, I do see it's Baker Mayfield. I do see him regressing. I just don't think I think he finished top 10 quarterback last year. I don't see him doing that this year.
Yeah, he did.
He was pretty good.
Do a ton of touchdowns.
So I think there is some regression coming from Baker Mayfield. And if you're drafting him like a top 10 quarterback, you may see some issues with that.
Yeah, I'm expecting big things from him this year. I think he's firmly entrenched as the franchise quarterback there. I think that's going to mean something where he has that confidence where it's like, this is my team. And he's always been a confident guy. He's not lacking in that anyway. So, good story for him that he's been able to find a new home. Again, yeah, sleeper. Again, it's not even really a sleeper anymore. Egbuka. I need to figure out how to pronounce this guy's name.
I thought it was Egbuka or something like that.
I'm going to look this up on Football Reference.
I've heard him pronounced way different ways every time, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with whatever sounds close enough.
Yeah, for sure. And then the bust is Chris Godwin. I know he's supposedly healthy. I just see them bringing him along a little bit slowly. And I feel like it's just he's going to be losing some of that explosive element. And I think because Ibuka is going to be taken over as the wide receiver two there, I just doesn't seem like there's a huge role for him. But again, happy to be proven wrong. All right, the last team here in the playoff contenders, the Washington Commanders, definitely the story of 2024, where they take that massive leap from top three to a playoff team. They win in Detroit in the playoffs. They go on the road and do that, fall short against Philadelphia, but no harm and no shame in losing to the Super Bowl champs. Their win total is 9.5, just like everybody else. What did you have for the Commanders?
Yeah, I had oh man. I was really conflicted. I thought about 10. I really thought really hard that maybe they could be a 10-win team, but I settled back on 9. I was just like, a lot of rookie success for Jaden Daniels. There's definitely going to be some regression from Daniels. He's not going to have that same kind of spectacular season. He's still going to have a good season. I just think there's going to be some regression for him, and the way he plays, the way he runs, a lot of injury concerns for him too. So, and he's more slight built than you'd like him to be if he's running that much. So, but I like the offseason moves that they try to do and try to make. But I do think there might be some just a little bit regression here for the Commanders, but especially because they came in so hot and so unknown last year.
Yeah, I'm still rolling with them. I think they win 11 games. I think they are the beneficiaries of the Giants and the Cowboys not being so great. So I see a path for them to challenge Philly for the division, especially if there's some regression from Saquon Barkley and some of the other guys on the Eagles. So there's definitely a path for them to do so. I know there is that second year quarterback slump, sophomore slump, whatever you want to call it, but I don't know. Maybe he's immune. He did crazy things his rookie year, even better than C.J. Stroud. So we'll see how that goes. And he's an older quarterback. Again, that's the other thing is he's not a super young, second year quarterback. He's in his mid-20s already. Who are your fantasy picks for them?
My sleeper is Bill Krosky Merritt, as
Yeah,
he goes
I was
by.
gonna say,
Bill.
what are you gonna say for his first name, Bill or Ja'Cory?
I went with Bill. That's what he said he wants to be called. He wants to be called Bill. And I guess because his name is kind of like sounds like Bill Cosby a little bit. That's why he's called Bill. But anyways, I like him. I like him. He is explosive, man. He is lightning fast. He looks good. So I can see him being Washington's RB1 by like week 4. I know Eckler is probably RB1 right now, or they might be thinking someone else, but I think he's taken over the backfield by week 4, and he's gonna skyrocket you to the fantasy playoffs, man. You gotta go get a share of Bill. And bust is Debo. I mean, I as a Niner fan, I watched Debo for the last like 3 years, bro. I love Debo. Wish he was on the Niners still, but there's just something off about him when he plays. Like I just he never looks in shape. He never looks like he can run a slant route. He never looks like he can run any route, if I'm being honest. And then somehow he breaks loose and he just turns on these jets that you don't even think he has. I think that's his like thing. Like people don't think he has these jets, and he has these jets. But now the league knows he
So he
has.
beats you to the corner.
Yeah, but like, oh wait, he does have jets now. So like, what else does Debo have in his bag? And he doesn't have anything else in his bag. And he's older. He's slower. So I don't I don't think he's that wide receiver too that Washington is thinking he's going to be. So I'm out on Debo.
I wouldn't say I'm out on him, but I understand the sentiment. My picks for them, the sleeper is Chris Rodriguez for me. I think he's the beneficiary of Brian Robinson getting traded out. I think even if Krosky, Bill Krosky has a good season, I think it's going to be Eckler that gets pushed down because he is older. He's not very explosive. So I think Rodriguez is going to get those goal line carries. And I think he's listed as the RB2 right now. I know depth charts don't mean too much, but I think he's going to be the main beneficiary of Brian Robinson getting traded. And my bust is Terry McLaurin. Again, relative. We talked about it already. I don't like guys that held out, even if he had a hold in. Um, Again, just bad vibes, bad juju around this team. Or around this guy, I should say, around anybody that's holding out. So now our next category is the playoff hopefuls. So these are teams with 8.5 as their projected win total. So they're kind of on the cusp here. And we will start with the Chicago Bears. So their projected win total, 8.5. What do you got for the Bears?
Yeah, I got him at 8, only because I think it's going to take them some time to adjust to Ben Johnson as the head coach, all these new pieces. I know they made great strides on the offensive line and added a lot of rookies like Loveland and Burden, things like that. But I do think it's going to take them some time to adjust, and they play in a very hard division. So 8 wins is what I have, and I don't think Caleb is going to make a leap. He's just going to be he's not going to make a significant leap. He'll make a very small minor leap.
Yeah, I have to double down on my Caleb Williams hype from last year. I have them at 10 wins. I think they're a playoff team. I think they're going to benefit from Minnesota taking a step back. And I think we're going to have three playoff teams from the NFC North again, but just a bit of a switch here. Again, little spoiler for the next pick. ChatGPT has them at 9 wins. So they agree with you, a slight over. Well, I guess they both went over. Me and ChatGPT went over. You went under. Who are your fantasy picks for the Bears?
Yeah, my sleeper is Roma Dunze. I do think, a guy that's drafted in the top 10 has to break out in year two. If not, he's going to be quite a bust. But I do think he has the potential there. And then my bust is actually DJ Moore, because I do think Adunze takes his volume, takes his targets, things like that. So I think DJ Moore naturally gets kind of faded out of this offense. And we'll see. Maybe that's the guy the Bills trade for.
Could be. My sleeper is DeAndre Swift. I'm surprised he's not getting more hype. There's not any other exciting running backs on this team. Ben Johnson does a great job drawing up a running game, so I feel like he's going to have a really big year. So I'm excited for him. I've been targeting him when I can in my drafts. In my bust, I guess relative is Colston Loveland. I know they picked him pretty high, but rookie tight ends generally don't do well. I know Brock Bowers has been the exception, but I see him coming along a little bit slowly, and I still see Cole Kmet, holding on to that, maybe not tight end one role, but like 1A, and I don't think he's going to have enough volume to justify some of these early selections of him. Next, the Arizona Cardinals, again 8.5. Last year they were competitive, but not a playoff team. What did you have for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I have them at 7 wins. I don't like what they're doing out there in Arizona. Like, they can't figure out their offense. They can't figure out their defense. They're just average on both sides of the ball. And you know me, I don't love Kyler Murray, so I give them at 7 wins there. And I think they're just right there towards the bottom of the division with the Rams if they don't have Stafford.
Yeah, I'm high on their defense. I was a little skeptical. Then I went to looked at some of the moves they made. They went out and got Javon Holland. They drafted Will Johnson. They brought Calais Campbell back, not back, but they brought Calais Campbell. And so I see Jonathan Gannon is a great defensive coordinator. He was great with the Eagles. And I think last year he made them competitive despite not having a lot of star power. So I do see them still at 7-8 wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if they exceed that. The only thing that it hinges on, of course, is Kyler Murray. And I think we're both pretty low on him as a player, just especially as like a long-term QB answer. And ChatGPT agrees, has them at 7 wins. So all three of us went under. What did you have for their fantasy picks?
Yeah, my sleeper is Trey Benson. I do think, again, James Conner getting up there in age. He's a solid running back, but Trey Benson, younger, more explosive kind of guy. He can kind of work into the mix here, especially if Arizona's trailing a lot of games and they don't need to be running the ball and they need to be throwing the ball. And my bust, Kyler Murray. I just can't. I just don't understand why anyone drafts Kyler Murray in fantasy. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's anywhere near top 15 fantasy quarterback. I think
It's the rushing upside. That's
I
really
I
all
get
it
it. I
is.
get it, the rushing upside, but I just stay away from him. He's prone to injury, things like that. So I'm not a Kyler Murray fan. You can mark him as a bust for me. I actually like Kyler Murray's a guy I do not draft in fantasy. Period.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I can avoid it, I'm not touching that. My sleeper is Michael Wilson. I thought he had a strong season last year. I think he's going to benefit from Marvin Harrison getting more attention on the defensive side of the ball, and I think I see a little bit of not a leap, but an improvement. I think he'll be fantasy relevant. My bust, James Conner. I think for some of the reasons that you mentioned, he's just getting a little bit older, long in the tooth, and then some of the other guys, the other running backs, are breathing down his neck for some of the touches here on offense. Next, the Miami Dolphins. So their projected win total again is 8.5. A lot of weird things around this team, a lot of weird vibes. So what do you got for the Dolphins?
Yeah, I have him at 7 wins, Khaled. Like you said, just overall very weird vibes, especially with Tyreek Hill. Like there's like stuff about how the players are not liking Mike McDaniels and the way he does practices, like just weird stuff going on there. And I do think, they're 1 2 a hit away from like not having a franchise quarter, like not having a quarterback. So they haven't done anything to put anyone behind Tua. So like one hit to Tua, and this is like a team like they
It's Zach
easily,
Wilson time. That's
yeah,
what it is.
that is Zach Wilson time, and they easily move down like 3 tiers. They move into that number one pick contenders for it. But 7 wins, I think, is feasible for them, but nothing, no great expectations for them.
Yeah, I went way under. I went with 5 wins. I don't see them being competitive. Again, the Tua thing, Tyreek Hill, just bad vibes. I mean, I know they brought in Darren Waller, but it's like he's already missing practice. Maybe he'll do something, but I wouldn't count on it. Defensively, they swapped Jalen Ramsey. They brought back Minka Fitzpatrick. So there's some blue chippers on defense, but I feel like there's just not enough there. And I think it's a team where they could start off, 0-2, 0-3, and then it just things kind of spiral from there. And Tyreek Hill asks out, and it's just bad vibes all around. And I don't think McDaniel is the type of guy that's going to be able to right the ship. He's like a good vibes type dude. And I think that act wears thin if you're not winning because people just don't take you seriously. So, what do you got for the sleeper and the bust?
Before we get into that call, the ChatGPT had him at 10 wins. So ChatGPT, I don't know what it was thinking, but has him at 10 wins.
Good job. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, no worries.
So what do you on fantasy? What do you got?
Fantasy, I got some. My sleeper is Ollie Gordon. He's I think he's going to actually start for him week 1 if I'm not mistaken, because Devon Achane is hurt. I think Jalen Wright got hurt, so they're already 2 running backs down. I think Ollie Gordon is kind of the way to go, and keep an eye out. He's good.
Even if HN is healthy, he's not like a 20-25 carry.
Yeah, for sure.
Game
Yeah,
guy,
exactly.
So, yeah.
Like that's what I'm like. I think Ollie Gordon might be a guy, and that's why HN is my bust, right? I think he's already missing 4 games, probably is what it sounds like. He's not a big back. He gets hit a lot. So go get some Ollie Gordon shares, everyone. He might help you there in fantasy.
And your bust is HN?
Yeah, HN is my bust.
Yeah, my sleeper, I just wanted to pick somebody different. So I went with Darren Waller just because last year, Jonnu Smith was able to put up, big numbers on this team. So if Waller is healthy, a big, big, big caveat to that, because he does seem to always be hurt. He's just a big body freak of an athlete at the tight end position. So if you can get him for cheap, I would stash him. I wouldn't count on him as being your number 1 tight end, but if you can get him for cheap or snatch him off waivers, go ahead and do that. And my bust is Tyreek Hill. He's just getting the bad vibes. He's 33. He's kind of a one-trick pony with the speed, and eventually the wheels are going to fall off of him, and I feel like this might be the season. Next, the Minnesota Vikings. They were a playoff team last year. I think they won 13, 14 games last year. Of course, their over-under now is 8.5. What do you got for the Vikings?
Yeah, I don't like the Vikings either. I got them as a 7-win team. I mean, I know their defense is going to be good. Their defense is going to be elite. I'm just not sure about the offense. I'm not sure about JJ McCarthy. I don't know what this guy is. And by all accounts, what I've seen, at least in the preseason, he doesn't look great. So I'm predicting their offense is going to struggle. Maybe a bottom 5 unit in the league, possibly, even though they got Justin Jefferson. Sounds crazy to say that.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think JJ McCarthy is going to struggle big time. And he gives me Mac Jones vibes. Like, that's what I get from JJ McCarthy, Mac Jones vibes. So I think, yeah, I mean, their defense is good. It's elite. I know they have Kevin O'Connell as a head coach, but I just think they're going to struggle. And I think they're a 7-win team.
I'm not far off with you. I put them at 8 wins for the same reasons. I think it's more about not him super like struggling, more so than you would expect from a young quarterback. I think Darnold, they had the benefit of him being a vet, even though he wasn't great late in the season, but he was great early on, and he has the experience. He's been around for a long time. He knows the game. He knows the speed of NFL football. I think there's just going to be a little bit of a big learning curve for JJ McCarthy as he gets caught up to the speed of the game, especially coming off that knee injury. He looked good in preseason, but this is a bloodbath of a division. And I think just because of that, I think they're going to fall off. And I do see them in like the 8-7 win range. ChatGPT has them at 8 wins. What do you got for the fantasy sleepers?
Yeah, my fantasy sleeper is Jordan Mason. I think he will be their starting running back over Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is old. He's banged up. he's just not built to take on a full workload. So I do think Jordan Mason, at least a 50-50 timeshare, if not the starting running back reps. Bust JJ McCarthy, I alluded to this. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. They apparently named him a team captain even, so I mean, doesn't mean much, but
You have to, man.
you
He's
have
a
to.
young
He's the
quarterback.
quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, you
I
have
think
to do that
he's
to give him the confidence.
I'm telling you, man. Every throw I see him make, I'm like, this is Mac Jones, just a backup quarterback. He's not a starter. That's just what runs through my head when I see JJ McCarthy make a throw. So that's my bust.
I love a strong opinion. I liked him coming out. I thought he was carried, obviously, by a good Michigan defense, so and a good running game. But a lot of smart people love him, so I'm anxious to see how this works out. In terms of fantasy, my sleeper is Jalen Naylor. I think he's going to be the main beneficiary of the Jordan Addison suspension. I think he's missing 4 games. And he had like 6 touchdowns last year. So I do think there's going to be quite a bit of volume. Maybe it changes a little bit now that they went out and traded for Adam Thielen, brought him back. But I do still think that Naylor has a big role. My bust is Jordan Mason. I mean, how many Shanahan running backs have success outside of the Shanahan ecosystem, especially recently? It's like
Maybe
Raheem
Raheem
Mostert.
Mostert one year. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that's it. Mostert, I mean, he's older. He had like that 20 touchdown season, which was a crazy fluke. But yeah, all these other guys, like if you're not Christian McCaffrey after you leave SF, it's like you're average. So I know he's a big back. He might steal some of the carries from Aaron Jones, the goal line carries and short yardage and stuff. But I'm still going with Aaron Jones as the number one running back there. And I don't, again, Mason, nothing special to me. All right. The next team here, the New England Patriots, they were picking in the top 5 this year. So they're expecting a big leap from this team at 8.5 wins. What do you got for the Patriots?
Yeah, I'm right there with the Vegas odd makers. I see them as a 10-win team. I love what they did on defense. I love what they did on offense. I mean, they brought in a lot of guys on defense, a lot of offensive linemen as well. So I love that the Will Campbell pick. I love the Trayvon Henderson pick. So I think they gave Drake May weapons, build him an offensive line, and gave him a defense that is just going to be nasty. They got a new head coach there, in Mike Vrabel. I think they're going to be a good team, man. I think their defense is going to be so good, and I think Drake May is gonna take a leap forward, and he's gonna show why he was one of a top 3 pick last year. He kind of showed that last year. He's gonna take an even bigger leap this year, and I think the Patriots are gonna be a wild card team here.
I'm shocked, frankly. I don't see it offensively. I know he is going to have a better offensive line, but I don't see the weapons as like a major improvement. I know Henderson is supposed to be special as a kind of not gadget play running back, but as a change of pace running back. I know he's super explosive. I think he's a great player, but Stephon Diggs is your number one wide receiver coming off of ACL, and he's got a ton of attitude issues. He was doing coke on a boat in the offseason. I
Allegedly,
know that.
allegedly.
Allegedly, sure. There's video evidence. He didn't. There's no evidence of him imbibing it, but he is holding it on a boat. So that might be a positive for wide receivers if you're talking about the '80s and it's like Michael Irvin and those guys. And then Hunter Henry is okay, but the wide receivers don't scare me. The running backs don't scare me. Sure, Drake May, I'm sure he'll improve. I know defensively they will be really good. They went out and got Robert Spillane and Harold Landry, and Mike Vrabel is an excellent coach. He should have been the coach there all along. He probably just wanted to take that year off, do his thing. But I can see them in like the 7, 8 wins, like competitive, but not quite a playoff wild card team. But I don't see it offensively. So who you got for the fantasy picks?
Yeah, my sleeper is Trayvon Henderson. I think he is just an elite running back. He has Jamar Gibbs vibes to him. He is explosive. He can catch it. And on that note, my bust is from Andre Stevenson. I just think he'll be out of a job come like week 6. Like he'll be handling like the backup duties. Trayvon Henderson is gonna get workload and I don't like
Yeah, he
Stevenson.
got benched last year for fumbling, so it's
You're
not
right.
not a
That's what I'm saying.
stretch.
Like he got benched for Antonio Gibson. So I think Stevenson. He's not gonna be fantasy relevant at all.
Yeah, my sleeper is Mac Hollins. I know it's kind of crazy because I was just talking down all the receivers, but I do think he is young quarterback friendly. This is really weird, but to me, he is one of the worst receivers in the NFL when his back is towards the line of scrimmage. But when he's facing the line of scrimmage, he is one of the best. Like jump balls, 50-50 balls, but he
King
is
of the broken
horrendous.
play.
Yeah, the broken play, the jump ball in the end zone. but he's terrible at tracking the ball downfield. And I got to live that as a Raiders fan when he made his way up the depth chart because of injuries. But yeah, I think he is young quarterback friendly. I think he'll be fantasy relevant, especially because there's no other wide receivers that I'm worried about on this team. And that brings me to my bust, and that's Stephon Diggs for all the reasons like the ACL, the age, the attitude stuff. I just feel like him and Vrabel are going to grade on each other, and I don't see I don't see a happy ending for Stephon Diggs in New England. All right, our last playoff hopeful team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, brought in Aaron Rodgers, but made a bunch of changes. They are again 8.5 as their over under. What do you got for the Steelers?
Yeah, I have them as a 9-win team because that's just what they do. They doesn't matter who's there. Mason Rudolph can be quarterback. They're a 9-win team. I mean, I could be quarterback. They're probably a 9-win team. That's just what the Steelers do. So 9 wins it is. I mean, they have an elite defense. They're really good. Maybe the offense takes a slight leap with Rodgers back there with DK Metcalf. We'll see. But I do think 9-win team because that's just where the Steelers always are.
Yeah, I'm out on Aaron Rodgers. I'll be again happy to be proven wrong. We did this for 2 years with the Jets. We're like, oh, if Aaron Rodgers is back to 50% of what he used to be, then they'll be good. But yeah, even if he is 50% of what he is or what he used to be, is he better than Mason Rudolph at this point in his career? I don't know. So I have him again 8-9 wins, just hovering around that same thing. You can't bet against Mike Tomlin and having a over 500 record. Just elite defense, great players all over the field on defense, on offense. Okay, DK Metcalf, Freiermuth. Okay, we'll see. But yeah, just good enough to be treading water there. So who do you have for their sleeper picks or fantasy picks?
Yeah, and ChatGPT agreed with us. They went 9 wins on them too.
Oh yeah, I want to say for the Patriots, GBT has them at 6 wins, so they
Excellent.
agree with me.
All right.
Interesting.
We'll
Or
find
it
out.
agrees with me.
All right. Fantasy picks here for the Steelers. My sleeper is Calvin Austin. I do think he will get some work out of the slot. Aaron Rodgers loves to hit the slot wide receivers. He loved his Alan Lazard type guys. Like he just has a weird he doesn't like to feed his number one receiver sometimes. Like it's just the weirdest thing. Unless his name is Devontae Adams. Like that's the only time I've ever
Yep.
seen Aaron Rodgers
I was
feed a
going to
guy.
say that's the only caveat.
Yeah. And so that leads me to my bust, DK Metcalf. I just don't think DK Metcalf is a sophisticated route runner. He's always about the kind of go ball. He can get you some yak stuff, but he's not a sophisticated route runner. It's not going to work out with Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be a lot of DK Metcalf yelling at Aaron Rodgers on the sideline type of videos during the season. So I think he's going to be the bust there. And when he yells at Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers is like, well, you know what? Screw you, DK Metcalf. I'm not feeding you the ball.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it to Freiermuth and Austin and the other guys. My sleeper and bust are kind of combined. It's just the weird running back situation there. Currently, Jalen Warren is listed as the starter with Caleb Johnson as the backup, but Caleb Johnson is my sleeper. I do think he takes over that job. He looks and feels like a Steelers running back. He played for Iowa, so he just kind of looks like a Steelers running back. Big bruiser, not a big speed guy. Jalen Warren has a fumbling issue, so I think he'll slide back into that third down role where he is a little more versatile and they're just pounding the rock with Johnson. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We are going to be wrapping up the last 3 categories in the next podcast, so stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about the playoff pretenders, the mediocre, good, bad teams, and of course the contenders for the number 1 pick. Thanks, y'all.